proud of our veterans, who fights every single day for the veterans, and who is proud to be the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Armed Forces, President Donald J. Trump.
All right, welcome, guys. We're just, we happen to be going live just when President Trump is making a speech during the Veterans Remembrance. So let's join in. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section.
To our great Vice President, it was a good decision I made. This morning on these hallowed grounds where generations of American heroes rest in eternal glory, we gather to fulfill the sacred duty of every free man and woman. On Veterans Day, we honor those who have worn the uniform, who have borne the battle, who have stood to watch, and whose ranks have formed the mighty wall of flesh and blood, bravery and devotion that has defended our freedom for 250 years. Today, to every veteran, we love our veterans, we say the words too often left unsaid. Thank you for your service. Thank you very much. And we want to also say thank you for carrying America's fate on your strong, very broad and proud shoulders. Each of you has earned the respect and the gratitude of our entire nation. We love you, we salute you, and we will never forget what you have done to keep America safe, sovereign, and free. Thank you very much. And we're also honored to be joined by a great man. He will go down as a great man someday. Speaker Mike Johnson. Speaker. Wherever you may be, Speaker. We love you, Speaker. There he is, right there. Good. Got a good location. He always gets a good location. And congratulations to you and to John and to everybody on a very big victory. We're opening up our country. Should have never been closed. Should have never been closed. I want to thank Secretary Doug Collins.
We're meant to have certain stories covered today. The first story is President Trump's interview where he basically nuked Chuck Schumer's career. Second, we're going to be looking into the illegal immigrants who opened fire on ICE agents in Chicago. Okay, he's been arrested. We'll look into that story. We're also going to talk about Mayor Brandon Johnson. Now, an illegal immigrant opens fire on an ICE agent. Mayor Brandon Johnson takes to the air calling on the United Nations to stop ICE. Look, when you think that these guys have gone too far, they tell you they haven't. And he just goes further to show how ignorant and how much of, an incompetent mayor he is. And then we're going to look at the next story is how Lee Zeldin essentially exposes how the Democrats caused pain to the American people in order to gain more power. We'll look at Fetterman's reaction to the Democrat Party's tone-deaf strategy over the last 40 days. Okay, hold on. I need to create some storage on my computer. I just got a prompt I need to address so I don't lose this file. 1 second, guys. One moment. Let's see. All right, I'll just have to get rid of this. All right. Yeah. And then, yes, hold on. Let me make sure I'm still recording. I'm not. Okay, go back to recording. Yeah. We will look at Secretary Scott Bessent's interview on MSNBC. And when they tried to teach him about economics, he basically told them they didn't know anything about economics. It's amazing how you have people trying to teach the American public about policy and economics, and they have zero clue. All they do is read from a teleprompter, and they try to let you believe that they know what they're talking about. So we're going to look into that. We're going to look at certain stories that are fringe, okay, like Muslim students at the University of Illinois talking about how America is a cancer. Why do these people get let into the country in the first place? We're going to be talking about that. If we get to that story, Glenn Beck also looks into the alliance between leftists and Islam and communists and anarchists. It is crazy to think about or to talk about, but this is what's happening. And then we're going to look at an Antifa attack on a Turning Point event that took place, I think, yesterday. Today is Remembrance Day, and I think that we should take some time to remember Charlie Kirk. He essentially is a veteran on the front lines of the fight for freedom around the world. He spoke truth to power. He was very polite when he did it. He was a godly person, okay? And then he got assassinated because they couldn't win him in the marketplace of ideas. So we're going to also take some time to honor the memory of not just the veterans who died in battlefields or on battlefields all over the world. We're going to be looking at honoring the memory of Charlie Kirk by looking into this story so that we don't forget. These people are still out there celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. Whenever they go out to protest the Turning Point events, they say, F you, your homie's dead. Okay, that means F you, Charlie Kirk is dead. It is crazy that we still have people doing this on college campuses and the colleges don't do a thing about it. So let me know in the chat what you think should be done about this insanity that we keep running into. Because since Charlie Kirk's assassination left the news cycle, it's as if attention hasn't been brought back to the fact that leftist colleges still oppose conservatives having these events and having personalities come to speak to students. It's still happening. So we can't ignore that. We're going to bring it back and talk about it if we get, we're going to talk about this because it's important, but I'm just giving you a rundown of all the videos. Now, I may not go through all of these videos, the important ones, yes, but I may not go through all of them. So I'm going to do standalone recordings for them. I'm going to be sitting back and doing them, eventually. So I hope you will consider sticking around for the balance of this show. We will be, ducking back into the speech by President Trump because it's Remembrance Day. I think we should all honor the sacrifice of the troops. We should honor the sacrifice of people. Just give me a moment. My setup is just not doing what it should do. Okay, so I'm going to be, let me just hit pause here. It's just dancing all over the place. I think that should be, that should do the trick. Okay, so we're going to be going back into the speech. We'll rejoin President Trump. Let me know your thoughts while the speech is going on. I'm going to be giving some commentary occasionally if I need to, but we're going to be looking over these other stories as we go along. Okay, so let's just listen in.
Over 60 Taliban insurgents. He and his comrades were pinned down for hours without artillery or air support. A fellow soldier was shot in the chest, and Captain Swenson crossed an open field to aid his brother in arms. People said, "Don't do it, Captain, don't do it." He did it. When the terrorists closed in around them and demanded their surrender, Captain Swenson threw a grenade at the enemy and rallied his men to break their advance. He then carried the wounded soldiers hundreds of yards to a rescue helicopter before charging back 3 times, back and forth into the fire to save the wounded and bring them home. Even after 7 hours of fighting, he refused to leave any man behind. Retired Lieutenant Colonel William Swenson is here with us in Arlington. And for his actions that day, he proudly wears the Congressional
These guys are
Medal of
superheroes.
Honor. Colonel Swenson, thank you very much. Thank you very much, please. Thank you.
These guys are superheroes.
Thank you very much. The ultimate honor. Thank you. Another person who shows the Medal of the American Veteran is Dale Stovall. As an Air Force helicopter pilot in Vietnam, Captain Stovall was assigned to rescue a downed American airman deep in hostile territory. Despite the extreme peril, Captain Stovall took off in his HH-53C helicopter and soon came under intense fire, forcing him to turn back. But the captain refused to abandon his mission. The next day, he willingly plunged back into the danger while taking fire from all directions. He didn't have a chance, he felt, but he said, I got to do it. He rescued the downed American pilot who had been stranded on the ground for 23 days and brought him back home alive, completing the deepest rescue behind enemy lines in the entire Vietnam War. For this and 11 other harrowing rescues, he was a brave guy. Dale received the famous Air Force Cross and the Distinguished Flying Cross and 2 Silver Stars, making him the 4th most combat decorated Air Force Academy grad of all time. He retired as a brigadier general after 31 years of service. General Stovall, you are a legend. Please, thank you, General Stovall.
Amazing.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
When you think about superheroes,
good,
these
General.
are the guys.
You
These
look-
are
I
the guys
wish I
that
looked that
really
good.
deserve that title.
You look good. Thank you very much, General. America's warriors never quit, never surrender. They fight, 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 and they win, win, win. That's what we do. We win battles. As you know, today is not only Veterans Day, but it's my proclamation that we are now going to be saying and calling Victory Day for World War I. Victory Day. You know, I was recently at an event and I saw France was celebrating Victory Day, but we didn't. And I saw France was celebrating another Victory Day for World War II. And other countries were celebrating. They were all celebrating. We're the one that won the wars. And I said, from now on, we're going to say Victory Day for World War I and World War II. And we could do for plenty of other wars, but we'll start with those two. Maybe someday somebody else will add a couple of more because we won a lot of good ones. But when I see other countries celebrating Victory Day, I watched it. I watched UK, I watched Russia. They were celebrating Victory Day, World War II. And I said, we got to have a Victory Day. Nobody even talked about it in our country. But from now on, we're going to be celebrating Victory Day for World War I, for World War II, and frankly, for everything else. Under the Trump administration, we're restoring the pride and the winning spirit of the United States military. That's why we have officially renamed the Department of Defense back to the original name, Department of War. And remember, we won World War I, we won World War II, we won everything in between, we won everything that came before.
Yep.
And then we brilliantly decided to change the name of this great thing that we all created together. And we became politically correct. We don't like being politically correct. So we're not going to be politically correct anymore. From now on, when we fight a war, we only fight for one reason, to win. We fight to win.
Yep.
And under my leadership, we're also fighting for the great veterans who have always been there for us and especially when we needed them and needed them most. In 9 months, the Trump administration has cut the backlog of VA benefit claims in half.
That's good.
That's a big achievement, and
That's
Doug
good.
is going to get it down to zero. During the Biden administration, the backlog exploded
Yep.
like we had never seen before, and I'm going to eliminate 100% of that backlog. We're moving at that pace, and already
They didn't care about
we
veterans.
processed more than 3 million backlog claims, the most of any year in the history of the VA. We've added more than 1 million extra service hours across the VA centers, and we've opened 20 new facilities in 13 states, something that people said just not possible to do. We also have brought back VA choice and VA accountability, taken away by the Biden administration, so that when you have to wait online, you go out and you get yourself a doctor. We pay for the doctor if you have to wait. And the other thing is we fired thousands of people who didn't take care of our great
That's good.
veterans.
That's
They
good.
were
Don't you think so?
sadists, they were sick people, they were thieves, they were everything you want to name, and we got rid of over 9,000 of them. And then when Biden came in, he hired them back, many of them. But we got rid of them. And I think we got rid of them permanently. We replaced them with people who love our veterans, not people who are sick people. We're also confronting the challenge of veterans' homelessness. And earlier this year, I signed an order establishing the National Center for Warrior Independence to house up to 6,000 veterans in need. And we will not stop until we have ended the tragedy of homeless veterans once and for all. I'd see in New York where people that came into our country illegally, they came in illegally, would be put up in hotels, and veterans would be sitting on the sidewalk outside of that hotel where these other people are put in. And many of the people that came in were put in from prisons. They were murderers. They were drug dealers. They were people that we didn't want in our country. They were staying in hotels, luxury hotels, and our veterans were sitting on the sidewalks watching them go in. I said, that's never going to happen under this administration. I also signed the VA Home Loan Program Reform Act, because no veteran should be kicked out of their home for what they call a late payment.
So this is a guy they say
And I'm pleased to
hates
report that since January,
servicemen.
the veterans'
Kamala Harris said he
unemployment
hates
rate
them.
has
He
fallen
laughs
by
at them,
more than
called them suckers and losers.
26%. That's amazing. Work hard on that. And I also want to give a very special thanks to all of the veteran service organizations that work so hard. They're all represented here today, but they work so hard on behalf of our great veterans. And one of the heroes who reminds us of why we fight for those who served in uniform is Army Major and West Point grad Jonathan Turnbull. In 2019, Jonathan was conducting an operation in Syria when a suicide bomber approached and detonated his vest, leaving Jonathan gravely wounded, so badly wounded they thought he had no chance. The injuries were so severe the doctors gave him, everybody, they just looked, they all cried. They knew him, they loved him, and they were just crying. They said, no chance. He was resuscitated 3 separate times and he underwent 22 surgeries, but he refused to give up. He wanted to live. He loved his country. He loved his family. He wanted to live. He was going through hell. I visited Jonathan at Walter Reed in 2020, remembered so well. And today I'm delighted to say that Jonathan is not only alive, he is here with us, back on his feet and living a great life alongside his beautiful wife, Samantha, and their 3 incredible children. Jonathan, Samantha, please, God bless you. God bless you. Thank you. Where are you? There he is. There he is. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you. You're a tough guy. You're a tough one. Nobody could have gone through what you went through. He's doing good, isn't he, huh, Samantha? Thank you very much, both. And in conclusion, from the very beginning of our country, our great American flag has always been shielded and protected by a special caste of citizen who has stepped forward to safeguard liberty's cause. When danger came, when duty called, when Almighty God asked, who had the will and the strength to defend the land of the free, each and every American veteran stood up and said, "Here I am, send me, here I am." They've come from every corner of this nation, from the cornfields of Iowa to the hills and valleys of California, from the steel towns of Pennsylvania to the vast plains of Texas, from the banks of the mighty Mississippi to the 5 boroughs of New York City. With selfless commitment and unyielding conviction, they made themselves America's ramparts and became the shield between our homeland and those who would do us harm. With everything they had, they did one thing above all else. They put America first. On the decks of destroyers, beneath the thunder of cannon fire, in the cockpits of our beautiful B-2 bombers. Aren't they beautiful now? We respect them so much. What a job they did. That in an instant completely obliterated Iran's nuclear capability, of which we have just ordered, I have to say, many more of the updated versions of that incredible piece of art. They defended the American Republic, dispensed American justice, crushed the enemies of freedom, and vanquished the forces of wickedness and evil. That's what we've been doing. Because of what every veteran has done today, the flame of liberty shines bright. The people of our nation sleep safe. The American dream surges forward, and our magnificent destiny stands more splendid and glorious than ever before. So I want to say thank you once again to every American veteran. You are very, very special people and always in our heart. And thank you very much, and God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. Thank
This
you,
has got
everybody.
to be the shortest speech I have heard President Trump make. All right, so the speech is over. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So we're going to be returning to our previously scheduled programming. All right, guys. So let me know what you think of this speech. I started out the live stream with this update, okay, and we got kind of sidetracked in a good way. With by the event that just that's going on, the Remembrance Day. Now, before I went live, we're going to talk about what President Trump said about Chuck Schumer that essentially has ended his career. Because honestly, after what Chuck Schumer enabled over the last 40 days of the government shutdown, he enabled it, he encouraged it, he supported it, he ran interference by giving lengthy speeches on the floor of the House and Senate. He's not doing too well politically. All right. But before we dive into that, I want to personally say, look, we need to honor and remember our veterans. It's crazy when you think about what veterans have done. They've essentially put their lives on the line to defend our freedoms. Now, if you're watching and you're American or you're Canadian, because here in Canada we're also celebrating Veterans Day as well. We call it Remembrance Day. In the US, it's Veterans Day. And being an immigrant, we have something similar in Nigeria, but it is not exactly, the same. You find that these veterans put their lives on the line to defend the freedoms that we all enjoy today. If the veterans who put their lives on the line didn't do so in 1945, we would all be speaking German today. or Japanese, depending on which part of the world you're living in, or Italian. And many times we forget to remember and to honor the sacrifice of the veterans. And how do we remember? We remember by recalling, at least to start with, who the enemies are and who our allies are. The enemies are the people who want to take away our freedoms. They come in the guise of wanting to solve fictitious problems. And they say, vote me in, I'm going to help you. And then, do you know what? If we forget that these people hold to the same policies and practices that our enemies, who were defeated many years ago, held to, and we vote them in, then we have forgotten. We've forgotten the sacrifice, the blood, the tears, the carnage that our veterans went through in order to secure our freedoms and liberties. It's a very important thing to pay attention to, because I think the world has forgotten. We are forgetting, and we are essentially embracing the very enemies that we should have learned to abhor and to reject. All right. Now, I'm going to jump into the video without further ado. But I also want to say, let's also remember the sacrifice of Charlie Kirk. He's also a veteran. It seems like people are forgetting. We're forgetting what happened on September 10th. Don't forget. There are still people out there who are still chanting, F you, your home is dead, taunting conservatives on campuses about the murder of Charlie Kirk, celebrating it, teachers in schools mocking the assassination during protests, and they still keep their jobs. People out there who celebrated it online, who are still going about life as if nothing happened. You can't have people like this in civilized society and believe that things are going well. That kind of behavior should be rejected out of hand. So we're going to jump right into this report. So here's an interview where President Trump essentially nukes Chuck Schumer from orbit. Let's have a listen and let me know your thoughts in the chat. Now, send your comments in the chat. Make your comments. I will get to the chat, soon. I'm going to be going through the stories, and then I will go into the chat and read out your chat, okay? So don't feel like you're being ignored if you post something and I don't read it out. Secondly, you can also have conversations in the chat with each other. Talk among yourselves. Have debates among yourselves. Be polite. Don't be rude. Don't use slurs on people. If you don't agree, that's fine. You don't agree, okay? We have to go back to a world where it's okay to disagree. We do. We need to go back to that time in the world where it's okay to disagree. So please, let's do that. All right, so let's listen to this and then give our reactions.
But he could break the Republicans, and the Republicans broke him. But he did think that we have good policy, they have bad policy. And there's something, I don't know if it's Trump derangement or are they just crazed. They're like crazed lunatics. But, we have just great policy. We have good people. They have some good people, too. I know a lot of Democrats. They're not all crazy. They're not all. But you have some that are absolutely terrible. I look at this Crockett. This is a very low IQ person. And I look at somebody that comes from Somalia where they don't have anything. They don't have police. They don't have military. They don't have anything. All they have is crime. And she comes in and tells us how to run our country. The Constitution says this, the Constitution. The whole thing is crazy. I feel badly because I've known Chuck Schumer. I knew him when he was a person who loved Israel, and now he's a Palestinian. He's become a Palestinian, and it's amazing. I've never seen a politician change so much. Also, he doesn't have, he was a pretty talented guy. He's lost his talent.
Ouch. Ouch. President Trump says Chuck Schumer has lost his talent. Did you know that President Trump actually used to donate to Chuck Schumer many years ago. Many years ago, Chuck Schumer would go to President Trump's office at Trump Tower, schmooze with President Trump, and then President Trump will write him a check. All of these people were his friends at one time. They were all his friends at one time. Then all of a sudden, he decides, I'm going to run for office. And then they say, well, you're no longer our friend. We're going to destroy you. As long as President Trump was a donor, as long as he said and did the things that they liked, they were fine with taking his money. He wasn't a billionaire that needed to be stopped. He was an ally that they could, work with. Now, here is what the ratings are saying. I'm going to, put this up. This is a report by CNN. They've done some polling on Chuck Schumer's favorability, and we're going to see how badly Chuck Schumer has destroyed his career with this last escapade with the government shutdown. Some people said that he was trying to protect his position in the Democrat Party. People speculated that his Senate seat was being threatened by AOC. And they said, well, he's only going along with them in order to prove to the extremists who are now the new Democrat Party that he can play ball and that he can tag along with the whole let's destroy Trump, let's go along with this plan to make Trump look bad, else you're going to lose your seat. So he did that. Some people are speculating. I don't know if you do. Let me know in the chat. And according to this polling, this report from CNN, it didn't work out too well.
Feeling overall about Schumer. We've seen a lot of comments from some House Democrats, but what about overall?
What about Democrats nationwide feeling about Chuck Schumer? I think the word of the day is terrible, terrible, terrible,
Ow.
terrible. To quote another Charles Barkley when it comes to Chuck Schumer, look at this. Least popular Dem Senate leader ever. I looked at all the polls going all the way back since 1985. The one who was the lowest.
That is crazy. Since 1985, the one with the lowest popularity among Democrats since 1985. That is insane.
Rating among Democrats is in fact Chuck Schumer. Look at this. He's underwater with Democrats. His own party, he's underwater. He's at -4 points. That makes him the least popular guy for a Dem Senate leader going all the way back since the mid-1980s at least.
Do you have a sense of?
President Trump just said that Chuck Schumer has lost his talent. And I think he's right. If Democrats don't like you anymore, according to this polling by CNN, it's really bad.
Why?
Why? It's because Democrats, they want a fighter. They want a fighter. That's why. Take a look here. Dems in Congress do too little to oppose Trump. During the first term, it was just 46% in 2017. That's the percentage of Democrats who said that the Dems in Congress are doing too little to oppose Donald Trump. Look at where we are now. 69%. That is an increase of, get this, 23 points. The super duper majority of Democrats believe that the Democrats in Congress.
This is the new Democrat Party. It's no longer about the country. It's no longer about solving policy issues that affect every American and help the country thrive. It's about stopping Donald Trump. Now, it's all about the numbers. We're looking at the numbers. And based on the numbers, it appears that the Democrats have created a new voting class that is more interested in opposition and fighting and looking for for someone to demonize rather than building up the country. And that's a very bad thing. It means that when you have a shutdown that puts families at risk, a shutdown that doesn't pay your military personnel, and if your military isn't getting paid, you are sacrificing the safety of every American citizen because of a Democrat agenda. That is the base that the Democrats have created. And that's a very dangerous thing to behold.
Are not doing enough to oppose Donald Trump. And that, of course, is a big, 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 huge criticism of Chuck Schumer. And that is why he is underwater.
I knew you were
Crazy.
going to do the dip. All right.
I always do the dip.
You
I need
always
my
do the dip.
exercise
You
in the
do.
morning.
There has been talks of a challenge to Schumer. What are you saying on that front? Who looks like they're in place to do it?
Okay, so you see this opening slide here, and you see, of course, that Chuck Schumer is underwater with Democrats nationally. But of course, the ultimate way to get Chuck Schumer out of office is to beat him in New York State. So how do New York State Democrats feel about Chuck Schumer? And take a look here, the net favorable among New York Democrats. Chuck Schumer is above water with the Democrats in his home state, but just by 16 points. Look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez running way ahead. If she decides to challenge Chuck Schumer and come 2028, she's got a real leg up on the competition. I dare say at this point she would be the favorite to beat him, which would be something that would just blow my mind. Even.
Yep. Everyone said it, and now it's on paper. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is after his seat. And Chuck Schumer was trying to hedge his bets by trying to appear to be a staunch opposer of President Trump. He did his best to play the part, but he failed. And say what you might about AOC. AOC is playing her cards right. She's playing her cards right. I've said before, don't relegate these guys to being, dumb or idiots. They know exactly what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They know who they're pandering to. They know who they want to vote to them. They know that they've created a voting base that focuses on opposition, and they know how to inspire that base to outrage. Chuck Schumer isn't part of that class of Democrats. He didn't grow up with the internet. He didn't grow up with social media. He doesn't know how to use it. And so it seems like AOC and her group are the future of the Democrat Party. Essentially, you now have an opposition socialist party, America. That's what I'll tell you. If you don't know it yet, you need to know that that's what's happening right now with the United States. You have your opposition right now is the Socialist Party. Right. Let me know in the chat what you think about this report. All right. Let me know in the chat. Because with Chuck Schumer going underwater, Republicans are like, ha, 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 that happened, ha, ha, ha. However, you need to take a look at what happened in New York. An publicly outspoken, what they call Democrat socialist, won the election in New York. California has essentially been running a socialist government for years now, and Republicans haven't been able to win that state for a long time. Whenever you want to see the direction America is going in, look at the East Coast and look at the West Coast. And right now, it's not looking too good. So Democrats, you guys are now socialists, according to what we're seeing. In a few years, the leader of the party is going to be AOC. Nancy Pelosi has announced that she isn't going to continue. So Nancy Pelosi was holding down the West Coast. Chuck Schumer was holding down the East Coast. Now, you have Walmart Obama as his number 2 in New York. And to be honest, do people take Hakeem Jeffries seriously? Do they? Let me know in the chat. Do people take Hakeem Jeffries seriously? Honestly, I don't. I listen to him. I think he might have a point or two occasionally, but to be honest, I don't think people take him too seriously because he doesn't seem to be authentic. He doesn't seem to be authentic. His gesticulations, he's trying to be like Obama. So I don't think so the future of the Democrat Party is socialist at this point. So let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section. Okay. So an illegal immigrant in New York, thank you for following the channel. Thank you so much. Thank you for following the channel. So an illegal immigrant in Chicago fired at Border Patrol. It's crazy that Chicago is going down this way, this road. We're going to play this this video. All right. So breaking news: the illegal who opened fire on ICE agents in Chicago over the weekend before fleeing has now been arrested. So let's listen to this report and let me know your thoughts in the chat.
A breaking update right now to a story that we've been reporting all afternoon. A suspect is now in custody in connection with Saturday's shooting targeting Border Patrol agents in this mess in Chicago. DHS says he is a criminal illegal alien from Mexico with a prior felony. Senior correspondent Mike Tobin joins us live from Chicago with the breaking news on this. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Martha, that is the breaking development that Border Patrol agents, or federal agents, I should say, now have a suspect in custody for firing at Border Patrol agents on Saturday. The video we have is after the shots were fired. People mobbed to the scene. Chicago police showed up to control the scene. But DHS says Saturday morning, Border Patrol agents were operating in the predominantly Hispanic Little Village neighborhood when a man drove up in a Jeep, opened fire, and drove away. No one was shot, but investigators collected shell casings and video from the scene. There was a joint investigation of the FBI, ATF, and Chicago police. That suspect is from Mexico and, again, in custody.
So you have people who are illegally in the country bold enough to do a drive-by shooting against ICE agents, against federal agents. How could this happen, you might ask? Well, when you have a mayor who openly steps up, we're going to watch Mayor Brandon Johnson asking the United Nations, in a bit, asking the United Nations to intervene and stop ICE. That shows you the state of Chicago. Your mayor is asking the UN, essentially, he's calling. He's saying that the enforcement of federal law on U.S. soil is a human rights violation. If people break into your country illegally, or breaking in is illegal, they break into your country, they take jobs away from your citizens, they take jobs away from other legal immigrants, they bring crime into the neighborhoods, because this was happening in a neighborhood that was primarily Hispanic. They bring crime into those neighborhoods. They make the minorities in those neighborhoods unsafe. Mayor Brandon Johnson's response is not get the criminals out. It isn't arrest anyone who is here illegally. It's stop ICE from taking away these criminals. And when you have leadership at high levels doing this, running cover for criminals and illegal immigrants, they get emboldened and they believe that it's okay for me to do what I'm about to do. They pack a gun in a vehicle and do a drive-by shooting against federal agents. And then you have some politicians asking, why do they wear masks? It's because of the insanity that we're watching. Why would you not wear a mask when these people have a history? If you follow the crime in Mexico and other crime-ridden South American countries, you find that these criminals go after the families of law enforcement. They target the families of law enforcement to intimidate them into not carrying out the laws of their countries against these criminals. These Democrats want this to happen in America. They want law enforcement to be so intimidated that they don't enforce federal law. And out of the chaos, they can enact certain draconian or authoritarian policies that take away your freedoms. That's what happened in the Soviet Union. That's what happened. Like, if you read history, you will see that the Soviet Union were able to, the leadership of the Soviet Union in the early stages of the Soviet Union with Stalin and so on, could take away the freedoms of the Russians because they had let out the criminals from the jails. There was massive crime in Russia. And they said, look, we have to stop the crime. Therefore, we have to enact some of these policies that may intrude on your freedoms, but it's to protect you. And the Russians said, yes, please do that. And once they began to do that, they began to take on more power. And eventually we have the Soviet Union. That's the playbook of socialists. You need to keep your eyes open. If you don't believe me, go read a history book. Do some research on Grok or AI if you can't read, or buy a book on Audible. Read a book.
They've got a suspect in custody, an illegal alien that has a past conviction for firearms, a past felony conviction for firearms. This suspect's in custody, and they're pursuing leads based on this suspect. It appears he was in the Jeep, and he was armed.
Over the weekend, DHS also released pictures of federal vehicles that were damaged. The agency says at least 4 cars were rammed while operating over the weekend. They were also boxed in and pelted with everything from bricks to paint cans. On top of that, an alert went out to Border Patrol warning them that the leadership of the street gang, Latin Kings, has put out a directive to shoot on sight immigration officers and federal agents operating in Chicago as part of Operation Midway Blitz.
That is crazy. So now you have criminals putting out hits on federal agents. And Governor J.B. Pritzker comes on air to tell you that everything is fine. Everything is fine in Chicago. I guess, and here's a guess, I guess these politicians are terrified of the gangs. I think they're terrified of the gangs. That's what I think. But if we stop at, maybe they're terrified of the gangs, they could go to the federal government and say, look, it's out of control. You guys need to step in. But they don't do that. So are they terrified of the gangs? Are they in cahoots with the gangs? Or are they just evil and want the citizens in their states to be so terrified, and they can come on air to say, you know that fear you feel? It's ICE that's making you feel that way. I wouldn't put it past them. Let's watch Mayor Brandon Johnson, okay? I did promise you that we're going to watch Mayor Brandon Johnson. Mayor Brandon Johnson, in a stunning show of a lack of self-awareness, steps up and says, ICE raids are a humanitarian crisis, and he's calling on the UN. Let's listen.
Mayor Brandon Johnson is asking the United Nations to intervene to stop your operations. Here is what he said before the UN Human Rights Council. Listen to this.
The federal government's immigration enforcement has been marked by violence and an assault on the dignity of all Chicagoans. I call on this council to hold the federal government of the United States to the same standards of accountability you apply elsewhere in the world. No country should be above international law. I urge the Human Rights Council to consider additional measures of accountability, including a special session to examine the worsening human rights crisis in the United States.
Tom.
Why is this guy still in office? Can someone explain to me? Can someone explain to me why this guy is still in office? Okay. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's either he's doing a good job of pretending to be stupid, or he actually is. I'm telling you. I mean, I'm just telling you the way I perceive this charade. Okay, that's the way it looks. That's the way it feels. Can someone tell me in the chat why he's still the mayor? We have people from Chicago who put out videos. Now, social media is just weird. Okay, social media is weird. You see a bunch of videos, like in my feed, I see a bunch of videos of people complaining about different things. And then when there's an election, the person that is doing those bad things that went viral on social media is voted back into office. So social media is weird. Let's not be deceived by trending topics on social media and so on. Some of it is engineered. But the question is, when you see an obviously failed governor or mayor of these cities come out and document their stupidity. Well, we just watched Chuck Schumer. He spent years nuking his career and finally it's caught up with him. But does Chicago, I don't know. I was about to ask, does Chicago have time to put up with stupid leaders? But Chicago has been putting up with stupid leaders for decades. So that might not be a valid question. But let me know your thoughts in the chat. Okay, chat, let me know what you think.
This is just pure lunacy, but what is your reaction to all of that?
He just proved he's not that smart, right? I mean, asking the United Nations to talk, interfere with ICE enforcing U.S. law, it's like asking an arsonist how to stop a fire. Because the UN, remember, the IOM, the part of the UN, helped fund the mass migration during the Biden administration 4 years, spending millions upon millions.
Exactly. Like, you see these. So put in the chat, okay, what you think. Is the UN in cahoots with mass immigration across the world? Because now we're being reminded by Tom Homan that the UN has a department that has been funding mass migration into the US. Everyone knows it. If you didn't hear about it, now you're hearing about it first from this live stream. The UN has been funding mass migration across the globe. All right? So now you're hearing about it and you're going to the UN to say, stop ICE, stop ICE. The UN is responsible for most of the mass migration across the world.
So dollars helping that migration, international migration, come to the United States. So, the United Nations is not going to tell President Trump what to do. President Trump was put in office on the promise of making this country safe again, on the promise of having the historic deportation operation. That's exactly what America is getting. Every criminal alien ICE and Border Patrol takes off the street makes this country safer. We have the most secure border in the history of the nation right now because of leadership President Trump, the men and women of the Border Patrol, and because ICE. What ICE is doing in the interior every day, they've sent a message across the globe. Don't spend your life savings, cross the border illegally, think you're going to get away in the United States. Because of what ICE is doing, people aren't spending their life savings, putting themselves in harm's way. Thousands of people aren't dying making that journey. Thousands of Americans aren't dying from fentanyl because that's a secure border. But the actions of the interior, the ICE and Border Patrol, has a lot to do why we have the most secure border in the history of this nation today.
And you're doing such a great job, Tom. Kevin Cork.
Yeah, that's a great answer. So let me know in the chat. Do you agree with Mayor Brandon Johnson that the UN should step in and save Chicago from ICE? That the UN should step in. Essentially, what Mayor Brandon Johnson, possibly at the behest of J.B. Pritzker, possibly, are trying to do is act like a nation state themselves. They're like, oh, we're being oppressed by the United States of America. Come save us. Ooh. That's what they're essentially trying to do. In my opinion. I might be wrong. I could be wrong. Because when you consider the insanity of this request, remember the UN building is hosted in the United States. The UN building is hosted in the United States. You can't make this up. It is stupid policy on top of stupid policy on top of stupid policy. And you continue to see them constantly do the same things that cause you and I. Now, I mean, if you like the idea of a Democrat mayor restricting federal law from being enforced in Chicago, that's fine. That's your opinion. But bad policies have consequences. Once these criminal migrants get embedded in your society, you're going to start seeing more assaults, crime goes up, and those communities become increasingly unsafe, businesses move out, the economy will crash, and those states will become failed states. But what will they do? Will they magically get some self-awareness to know this thing isn't working? No, they're going to look for someone to blame. And who else will they blame but President Trump? Trump bad. Remember? They ran for office. Most of them ran for office on the Trump bad ticket. So let me know your thoughts in the chat, okay, about Mayor Brandon Johnson's insane request from the UN. And I'm curious to see what the UN does about that request. All right, on the next piece of news, okay, and this is something that we all know. We all know this, and it's going to be interesting for us to kind of have this conversation. Lee Zeldin couldn't believe that Democrat leaders would admit out loud they wanted to leverage Americans' pain and suffering. We just went through 40 days of a shutdown, government shutdown. And many of these Democrats constantly talked about the fact that they needed the American people to feel the pain in order to understand how bad President Trump was. You know, the videos are out there, okay?
I think the most outrageous comment that we've heard, and there was a few that could get nominated, was Congresswoman Clark talking about how she understands all the pain and suffering that the shutdown is causing for American families, but that is the leverage point. That needs to be used in order to accumulate power. It is a calculation hoping for that pain and suffering to become a leverage point. Like, nobody should be in office if they even think that to themselves personally, that they are going to rely on causing pain on their
There's a video out there of Democrat after Democrat after Democrat saying that this shutdown was for leverage. And they kept using the word leverage, 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 leverage. And just like he said, all right, the same thing, leverage. Okay, they said leverage. We need to call these evil practices out. We need to call them out. It's not just enough to say, oh, how horrible, the shutdown happened, and then, okay, it's over now, let's move on. Today is Remembrance Day here in Canada, is Veterans Day in the US. It's all about remembering. And to be honest, the news cycle is so deceptive because when something is hot in the news cycle, everyone just loses their minds. They're like, this is the only thing that matters. And then when that passes, something else matters. But you know what? It doesn't stop the fact that these problems, these policy issues are still running. And the Democrats that are pushing these policies aren't stopping. They aren't stopping. They're still pushing these policies to make sure that they go through. So when we watch these things take place, and we watched for 40 days, we saw the Democrats vote no to reopen the government, and then turn around and have news interviews where they would say that it was a Republican shutdown. The Republicans were voting to open the government. The Democrats were voting no. They wanted to keep the government shut. So let's not forget. And let's not forget the reason why President Trump was voted in. You had 4 horrible years of Joe Biden. They wanted 4 more with Kamala Harris. It was a resounding no to that. What most people don't realize is when you vote for a president, they are there for a brief period. Where the real fire for voting should be happening is the grassroots voting. School boards, your local elections, House and Senate elections in your states and federally. That's where the real fire should be. So I think a lot of conservatives and Republicans experienced a lot of election fatigue, and they went to bed. And they decided that they had done their due diligence with voting Trump in. No, Trump will be out in a few years. In a few short years, he'll be out. The Democrats are already planning way ahead. They are planning way ahead. In the earlier report, we can see AOC is going to take that Senate seat. She will, unless something catastrophic happens to her career. She's going to replace Chuck Schumer. All right, so let's watch. Time is our friend. So we're going to watch, and then you let me know if that doesn't happen. Okay, tell me, you predicted this, it didn't happen. Okay, you were wrong. And I'll say, yeah, I was wrong, and I'll be glad to be wrong. I would be glad to be wrong. Okay, I would rather have a Republican replace Chuck Schumer or a regular Democrat, not an activist like AOC, a regular run-of-the-mill Democrat, a 1960s Democrat, or even I'll take a 1990s Democrat over AOC.
Constituents in order to gain more power. And here you have someone who not only feels it privately, but actually bragging about it publicly, a person in leadership, like the number 2, right, of House Democrats, talking about how they want this pain and suffering for American families as a leverage point. This is a tool that needs to be used right now in order to help gain power.
Yeah, as far as Democrats are concerned, they've said it, they say it in their language. Leverage is more important than taking care of the American people. Their fringe policies are more important than taking care of you. They continue to say it. Why don't Democrats just take the hint? Why don't they take the hint? Or maybe are Democrats on board with burning down the country to spite conservatives? I remember one video. Okay, so let me know in the chat, okay? And if you're watching and you kind of like the easygoing flow of this coverage of the news and stories that we're covering, all right, please consider subscribing to the channel, like the video, share the video, and then engage in the chat. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the chat. I want to know what you think. I want to know what you think. Let me know in the chat. Okay. So Lee Zeldin has essentially spoken up to say, look, if you didn't notice, here's what the Democrats said, and here's what they did. And it is essentially evil. As far as I'm concerned, it is evil that they would even think that sacrificing the welfare of American voters was less important than embarrassing President Trump. Here's John Fetterman. John Fetterman essentially has gone rogue. He's gone rogue, and many Democrats have begun to distance themselves from him. I think there's going to be an attempt to unseat him during the next elections in Pennsylvania. He may lose his Senate seat. He may. Okay, so here's what he said.
I think my party crossed a line of now putting 42 million Americans with their SNAP benefits and making flying less safe and that kinds of chaos and not paying our military. I mean, that was a red line for me that I can't cross as a Democrat. And I think that's been described country over the party. And now that I think that's been the truth throughout it. And it's only wrong to shut our government down. And I'm relieved. But the people now that are going to get paid and fed and millions of Americans, they're going to be flying now. That's going to be made more safe and restored.
Now, I want to say that I think Fetterman's time as a senator, a Democrat senator, are numbered. I'm sure that there are people out there that are like, oh, why doesn't he just register as either an independent or a Republican? He should just go ahead and register as a Republican. For a lot of people, being a Democrat is an ideological stance. It's like, I am a Democrat through and through, and my definition of being a Democrat is this. However, a lot of the people who run as Democrats don't have the same position. And I think, the Democrat Party has essentially been radicalized. The voting base has been radicalized using education, using mainstream media. They've been radicalized. So if you're a middle-of-the-road Democrat like John Fetterman, your days as a senator or as someone who holds office as a registered Democrat are numbered. That's what I think. Can the Democrat Party change to return to its roots? Okay, and if you know something about the Democrat Party, that's a bit, it's not even pleasant to think about that, because everyone knows that they voted against giving black people the right to vote. Everyone knows that it was the Democrat Party that held up the Civil Rights Bill. Everyone knows that they held it up. It wasn't the Republicans that held it up. The Democrat Party they were the ones holding up segregation in Jim Crow states. It was the Democrat Party. It's historical. Okay? They were the ones who essentially were endorsing and running cover for the KKK, not the Republican Party. When I heard this and found this out, I was like, what on earth is going on? How come the Republicans aren't saying it? But you know what? I think they've been saying it. They've said it many times, but mainstream media just wouldn't let us hear it. So now we're hearing it. All right. So let me know your thoughts about this. The comments by Lee Zeldin, John Fetterman's comments about the Democrat Party's putting their beef against President Trump and their desire to fund healthcare for illegal immigrants, because they said it wasn't happening. Evidence has come out since that it's actually happening. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, all right, or in the chat. So chat, let me know your thoughts. So we're going to jump over to a very interesting conversation now. Secretary Scott Bessent was on TDSBC recently. I think that was yesterday. He was on TDSBC and they were questioning how the Trump administration loaning Argentina $20 billion would help Americans. And I've heard this question because people were like, okay, everyone is against sending money to Israel. Not everyone, most people or some people in the United States, let me know if you're one of them, are against sending American dollars to Israel, to Ukraine. And we've all had those arguments or heard those arguments. And now the president wants to send a $20 billion bailout to Argentina. How does it help Americans when you're $37 trillion in debt? Isn't that good? Bad money over bad. All right. So Scott Bessent asks them the question, do you know what a swap line is? Now, I don't know what a swap line is. I hope he will have time to tell us what a swap line is, because I don't want this to be a gotcha video like, oh, they don't know what a swap line is. Okay. And then they ask you, do you know what a swap line is? And like, I see what you're doing there. Like you see when the Democrats or people who vote left are being questioned on during street interviews. Do you know what this policy is? And then they begin to flip you off. Okay, so let's listen to this exchange.
Amid this discussion of costs and prices and affordability, how does a $20 billion bailout of Argentina help Americans? You're the president's point person on that. Can you explain to those here who are feeling the pinch, including America's farmers, why the United States is helping out Argentina?
Well, do you know what a swap line is?
It's a currency swap, yes.
Yes, but what is that?
You're the Treasury Secretary.
Yes, but why would you call it a bailout?
That is how...
In most bailouts, you don't make money. The U.S. government made money. We used our financial balance sheet to stabilize the government. One of our great allies in Latin America, during an election, the president there won in a landslide. The government's going to make money, and I would rather use peace through economic strength than have to be shooting at narco boats coming offshore if the government collapsed. We have a generational opportunity in Latin America to create allies. We just saw an election in Bolivia. We're probably going to see an election in Colombia. We've seen them in Ecuador. We're going to see them in Chile. So by stabilizing the economy there and making a profit, then that's a very good deal for the American people. And there's a lot we could have been doing for American farmers, but Democrats closed the government.
Whoa. Shots fired. Okay, so a swap line. So from what I understand, and let me know in the chat if I'm following this correctly. From what I understand, they're giving Argentina a $20 billion bailout to ensure that Argentina stabilizes because their economy is still struggling and they need that lifeline to keep the country together. Else, we're going to start seeing what's happening in Venezuela happen in Argentina. So now you won't be dealing with Venezuela or Mexico, but you'll also be dealing with Argentina. And have you seen the size of Argentina? All right, so you don't want narco gangs taking over the country and shipping drugs to the United States. Now, do you think that that's a good investment? 20 billion, stabilize Argentina, keep Argentina stable, reduce the number of people who want to cross the border from Argentina because their country has collapsed. Remove the possibility that narco terrorists or narco boats will be, coming from Argentina to drop off drugs in the United States, because already now there's an aircraft carrier, okay, in international waters monitoring boats and ships that leave Venezuela. For those aircraft carriers to be stationed there, it costs money. It costs hundreds of millions of dollars, okay, to do that. If you pay forward $20 billion to keep Argentina from becoming like Venezuela, that's a fair investment. And I think Argentina will pay back that money and America will make money off that transaction. So I think it makes sense the way he explained it. Do you agree with Scott Bessent? This is not like what the US has been doing with Ukraine, sending off money with nothing in return until President Trump insisted that America has to have something in return. And that was basically part of the disagreement that took place a few months back, but that has been resolved because America wasn't getting anything in return. They were simply shipping off billions of dollars to Ukraine to fight Russia, and America didn't have a stake in any way that says, you guys are going to pay us back one way or another. President Trump made sure of that. Okay, so let me know in the chat if you're satisfied with this response by Scott Bessent. I'm going to take a look at the chat. Okay, there are a bunch of you there just watching the show, enjoying the show. Maybe you're at work, you're busy, can't type. I understand. So I'm just as a side note, I'm considering. I was talking with my wife last night, and I told her, look, I'm considering possibly moving the live stream later in the evening because I'm watching my audience, and only a handful of my audience goes into the chat because it's middle of the day, and today's a holiday. I think today's a holiday in the US. I think it is. But people do work. People are busy with family. People are hanging out. I'm up here live streaming. My wife calls me and says, aren't you going to spend time with us? I'm like, I'm live streaming. I'm preparing for the live stream. Sorry. So who knows? Maybe I should have taken the day off today to hang out with my family. What do you think? Okay. What do you think? Do you think I should have abandoned you guys and not had this live stream? Anywho, let me know in the chat. Now, yesterday we talked a bit about this, and I want to pull this up because, again, jumped into my feed. When you're an immigrant in a country that welcomes you, and you're there to school or to work, you're an immigrant. Love the country that welcomes you. You are a guest. But when you have immigrants like this, foreign Muslim students at the University of Illinois, Chicago, says this: America is the cancer. So why are you in America? Why are you there? Let me know in the chat. Should this guy be deported? I vote yes. I vote yes. If I went to a country and I didn't disagree with everything that was happening, and I said anything that basically stated that I didn't love that country, I should be deported. I should be deported. I have that policy personally. I'm like, look, if I'm a guest in a home, I don't go poo-pooing my hosts. And there are videos like this all over the place. Let's listen to this. Guys, I don't know how to insult people. I don't know how to. When I try to, I can't form the words. So I don't think you're ever going to find me using my words against people and attacking them. I will talk about ideas. I'll talk about policies. I'll talk about positions. Yes, I did say that Mayor Brandon Johnson is acting like he's stupid, but I didn't say he was stupid. I said he's acting like. All right. So let me use that framing. This guy is acting like a fool. I think that's the best way I can put that. I can't say he is, but he's acting like a fool, because you don't enter into a country, be welcomed by that country, and call that country a cancer. Let me know your thoughts in the chat while we listen to this.
America is the cancer. America, the American government, secularism, democracy, capitalism, these are cancers that have spread their illness all over the world. In America and in the Middle East. In America over here, people have the freedom to, again, like I said before, commit zina, do all this fahisha, but when you speak up, it's a problem. Non-Muslims are tired of this cancer. They're tired of the American government. They're tired of democracy. They want to see a new way of life.
No. No, they're not. No, they're not. What would you know about what the American people want? Even when I speak about the American people, I ask questions. Do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want that? I can't presume as an immigrant to know what the American people want. I can see from the way they vote. I can see from the things that regular Americans say. Okay, so if what you're saying is brainwashed Americans want to see a change in government, do they know what they're asking for? Have they lived in a failed state before? Have they lived in a Muslim-occupied state before, or a Muslim-led state before? I'm going to put out this challenge again. If you're American and you're tired of your government and you hate your country so much, here's what I will propose. Buy a one-way ticket to, let's say, Palestine. Okay, go to Palestine, go to Gaza. And when you arrive and cross the border, burn your passport. Since you love the Palestinian people so much and you love Gaza so much, fly to Israel, drive across the border, enter Gaza, burn your passport. All right, and renounce your citizenship. Become a citizen of Gaza. Since you guys want them to be a country, become a citizen there, burn your passport, and then tell me how it works out for you in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks. All right. I would recommend it for the men. The women, I don't think you would survive 2 days. I don't think you would survive the night. They make these very stupid, foolish proclamations. Oh, I hate my country. Everything is bad. We need a revolution. Globalize the intifada. They haven't set 1 foot outside of Illinois. They haven't even left their town. Some of them haven't left Chicago. Some of them haven't left New York. Some of them haven't left San Francisco. Some of them haven't even left their county, and they think that America is so horrible. As opposed to what? As opposed to what? Living in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is amazing. It's awesome. Okay, compared to other Gulf states, but it is run essentially on Sharia. Only recently, women could drive. For the feminists who want to globalize the intifada, move to Saudi Arabia and and see how you cope there. There was this video that was circulating a while back of someone who went to Egypt to protest the Palestinian occupation or the war in Palestine, and the Egyptian police came to shut them down. They said, "Oh, I thought I had freedom of speech," and the guy was like, "Where? In Egypt? You're under arrest." Okay. When you take the time to ask very deep questions, progressively ask questions before you take up this sign that was handed to you, in your college dorm room or in the common room where you guys were meeting, and everyone is so frenzied up about what's going on with the Palestinians wearing kafirs and everything, and you're running around frothing at the mouth. Before you get to that stage, ask questions. How come the surrounding Arab states don't let in Palestinian refugees? Have you asked that question? Take your focus off Israel. Ask, why didn't Egypt open its gates? Have you seen the wall between Egypt, at the border of Egypt and Gaza? It is more secure than the wall between the United States and Mexico. Why do other Arab states not take in these refugees? Because historically, the Palestinian people destabilize the countries they live in. They look for things to complain about, and then they tried to stir up revolution. They were kicked out of all of the surrounding Arab states because they did that. Historically, they aren't wanted by neighboring Arab states, and you want them to move into Israel. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? Okay, so let's listen to the rest of his rant.
And as Muslims, we have to understand that we have that new way of life. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent as a mercy for all of mankind.
Go back to Saudi Arabia. Go back to the Arab states. Go and have your amazing Muslim utopia over there. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. Okay? If the United States of America, which was founded on Christian principles, right, whether you like it or not, it was founded on Christian principles, the most powerful country in the world, and an envious international student comes to tell you that your way of life is crap, take away his student visa or his H-1B visa, send him back to the country he came from. It's really that simple. I don't think it should be tolerated. Okay? I don't think it should be tolerated. Okay? Immigrants should be well behaved in the countries that they attend, that they live in. They shouldn't they shouldn't become activists. I don't think they should. No. I don't think they should. If they were not brave enough to be activists in the countries they came from, they shouldn't start that in a different country. And even if they started, kick them out. Kick them out. I'm just calling it out because I'm tired. I'm tired of seeing immigrants like this put a bad smell in the nostrils of host countries all over the world. It is immigrants like him who have moved to the UK, and you have grooming gangs everywhere trying to demoralize the British people. Okay, assaulting their daughters, the vulnerable daughters that should be protected. Of course, the parents did a horrible job, but does that mean that they should be assaulted and hooked on drugs and passed around like meat? You see it happening in Sweden, which is essentially, according to what I've seen online, the assault capital of the world now. I think the UK just passed them, and it's all from the same communities, the same demographics. People from states that are run by Islam go to Western countries, lose their minds. Is it that they lose their minds or they are being directed to do this? I don't know. It's infuriating to just watch this insanity happen. Okay. Now this video was from 2024.
He was sent as a mercy. Why? Because the way of life he brought will bring that mercy. The people he conquered enjoyed that mercy. Yeah, by him attacking them, destroying their cities, slaughtering everyone who would not convert to Islam, marrying 9-year-olds. Great job. Great job. And every time you ask them, how about this? They're like, oh, well, you know. They start trying to figure out how to finagle how being a PDF is a virtue that he saved the 9-year-old. Way of life he brought will bring that tranquility to Muslims and non-Muslims. Non-Muslims won't have to worry about these issues they worry about now.
All right.
They won't have to, because Islam.
Tell that to the non-Muslims in northern Nigeria. Tell that to the Muslims in northern Nigeria, okay? Who are privy to the slaughter of thousands of Christians. Okay? Tell that to the city of Constantinople. All right? You guys were so... You wanted to bring peace and mercy, and then you sacked Constantinople, converted the Hagia Sophia into a mosque, which is still a mosque till this day. All right? Peace and mercy, eh? It's astounding how these people can just say these things. Do I have a problem with Muslims? No. I have a problem when they try to force their way of life on everyone else. And remember, I use the word force. Christians don't force anyone to change their way of life to match the teachings of Christ. We don't. Historically, have there been people who were Christians who did that? Yes. The Inquisition, that was insane, and I wouldn't call those people Christians. I wouldn't call the people who carried out the Inquisition Christians. I disavow them. They are not Christians. Okay? I'm waiting for a Muslim to disavow any of the extremists who have done all of the heinous crimes that we continue to read of in Europe and in Africa. I'm waiting for them to disavow them. They don't, because it is a part of their teachings and practices. As Christians, we have a set of teachings and practices handed down from the apostles down through the ages. The Bible is intact. We read it. We observe these principles and these laws. We don't force people to convert. We don't threaten to kill them if they don't convert. We don't insult and berate and belittle people. Anyone you see doing that is not a Christian. I have to be very plain about this, because there's a lot of false equivalency that comes up whenever you're having these conversations and someone tries to tie what the Muslims are doing with the Crusades or with the Dark Ages and the Inquisition and all that. It's all false equivalency, because when you try to put them side by side, you find out that there's one thing that is consistent. Okay, the teachings in the Bible always counter those activities. And whenever you see that someone has deviated from the teachings of the Bible, that person is not operating as a Christian. You can take it to the bank.
Islam is a just religion that has come to be implemented upon.
Yeah. So we heard that. So let me know what you think of his very interesting speech. We can see that it is a fact that anywhere you have Islam as the law, Islam is very intolerant of any other way of life. And it enforces that intolerance by force. It will, and if you give the leadership of that country the freedom to do so by not having a Second Amendment constitutional right in the citizenship, they will by force make everyone conform to their totalitarian, authoritarian rule. It happened in Iran. It happens everywhere else in the world. And I'm going to say this, as long as the Second Amendment holds, as long as it holds, they won't be able to carry out the full measure of their plan. However, if you continue to vote in Islamists into Congress and into office across America, eventually the Second Amendment will be abolished. And they are not afraid to do it. They don't respect the Constitution the way you do. The Constitution, as far as they are concerned, is a piece of paper. They don't respect the Constitution. You need to just open your eyes, listen to them. The Constitution is man-made. The Quran came from Allah. So as far as they're concerned, they owe allegiance to the Quran, and they couldn't care less about your Constitution. Open your eyes. Let's listen to Glenn Beck, because Glenn Beck and Jillian Michaels have an amazing conversation around the partnership between leftism. They revealed the alliance everyone mocked as a conspiracy theory. Islamists, communists, anarchists, and radical revolutionaries working together to destabilize the West, just like in 1979, in Iran. Europe is seeing it. England is admitting it. Glenn Beck warns America is next if we stay silent. I'm going to listen to this. Now, while we're listening to all of these videos and going through these stories, I like to have you guys let me know your thoughts in the chat or in the comment section. I'm going to take a look at the chat to see if I have any comments. All right. So let me know your comments in the chat. Let me know what you think. All right. Let me know what you think in the chat. And I will respond, because I'm like, this show is really all about connecting with you, hearing your thoughts, and having conversations. And if you enjoy the show, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the channel, and sharing the videos. Okay, share this with your network. I can see likes and shares. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. All right, and then let me know your thoughts in the chat. So let's listen to Glenn. I had to look to the side to kind of take a look at the chat. Okay, so let's listen to Glenn and Jillian Michaels talk about it. Now, I think Jillian Michaels is originally from Iran. So whenever you want to know what the third world is like, talk to someone who has lived in the third world for a long time. I lived in Nigeria for over 45 years. I know what it's like to live in a third world country. I didn't leave when I was 8 or 9, like Patrick Bet-David, not belittling his experience, but he remembers what it was like. I lived in a third world country till I was over 45 years old. Attempted to start businesses in third world country. I know how hard it is to live in a third world country. And I lived in a nice part of the country. So whenever people say things about the third world and about Africa and so on, I'm like, you guys haven't even left town. So ask somebody who has actually lived under those circumstances before you begin to speak about how America is so horrible. So here's Glenn Beck.
On the Islamic front, it is important to understand, I did a chalkboard and everybody, even those on the right, said he's a crazy conspiracy theorist and it doesn't make any sense. I did a chalkboard and I did it every night. And I said, the Islamists, communists, anarchists, socialists, revolutionaries will all work together to destabilize first Israel, then Europe, and then the rest of the world, and it will finally come to America. And everybody said their argument was that they don't get along. What are you talking about? Socialists and anarchists, socialists, communists, they want giant state. Anarchists want no state. Islamists, are you kidding me? They don't want the same thing. They want Sharia law. The communists don't want Sharia law. You're seeing them now. They're all working together. And what?
Yeah, you have Zoran Mamdani doing his thing. He's an Islamist. He's touting being a Democrat socialist. Essentially, he's a communist. Okay, defunding the police. That's an anarchist position.
People don't understand is they're so arrogant. They all believe I'm going to use these guys just exactly like Chuck Schumer. I'll use these guys for a while, but I'll still be in control.
Yeah.
And we'll take care of them when all is said and done.
Yeah.
In 1979 in Iran, the Marxists and the Islamists worked together to overthrow the Shah of Iran.
Yep.
Well, who had the power? Well, the Marxists and the Islamists were supposed to share power, but as soon as they had power, they killed these people. 30,000 people were jailed and killed by the Islamists.
So all of the leftists who were celebrating, the girl I saw celebrating the fact that the Democrats won, a socialist won, and that she can't help but be happy to think about how her MAGA parents are suffering, because of that. They think that they're playing the same games. They think they're playing the same games. The first people to be eliminated is people like them. They are the useful idiots. As soon as these people get into power, they round everyone up who's going to be picking up those signs and saying, hey, this isn't what we agreed on. And they're going to jail you. They're going to get rid of you.
It's the same story. It happens over and over and over again. And there is an Islamist, different than Muslim, an Islamist movement. And they will tell you in their mosque on tape, they will say, the best thing they'll say is, it's only a matter of time. Just look at the birth rates. You will.
Look, we just watched a video. We just did. We just did. And there are hundreds, possibly thousands of videos like that out there. I have videos like that in my hard drive, like saying things like that. And the clueless, ignorant leftists think that they're playing on the same side or they're playing the same games. They're not.
Will be an Islamist country. Okay, that's the most most docile thing. They will be an Islamist country. The best thing they'll say is, it's only a matter of time. Just look at the birth rates. You will be an Islamist country. Okay, that's the most the most docile thing they will say about taking over the West. Others will come right out and say it, and you're seeing it a lot over in Europe and in England, where they'll just come out and say, yeah, well, we now have control of many things, and you will submit. And what you're having is all of these people working together for chaos, and everybody's building a little structure thinking it's going to fall into their hands in the end. Whose hands is it going to fall into? I don't know. The American Revolution is the only revolution in the history of the world that was ended by the exact same people who started it with the same principles. It's the only time. Every other time somebody starts it because they think they're going to get it, and then they're killed, and then somebody else is killed, and then they're killed. And then finally you get the really bad guy that takes over. That's the way most revolutions happen. And
so for people who celebrate the Intifada, they celebrate globalizing the revolution and so on. Go back and look at history. I continue to try to get you guys to look at history. Go back, study history, figure out why and how these things happen. It's really important. Okay, I bring up these conversations because it matters to me. I mean, today is Remembrance Day here in Canada. It is Veterans Day in the United States. It's all about remembering. And when we don't remember history, we are doomed to repeat it. We're doomed to repeat it. New York has forgotten history. Zoran essentially stood beside someone who was implicated in the attacks during 9/11. It doesn't matter to the voters. They just want to stick it to Trump. History is less important to these people than protecting your heritage. That is crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Okay, so just let me know your thoughts about the stories in the comment section. We're going to jump into the comment section and have a conversation. Okay, I need to hear what you think about this, because for a lot of people, it's way out there. We're living it in Nigeria. Okay, what he's saying is being lived out in Nigeria now. They're the president and the vice president Muslims, and they're letting Christians get murdered, and they're saying it's not happening. It's happening right there. they know that if they don't pretend like they don't know it's happening, and you know what? It's takia. It is lie. They are allowed to lie if it furthers the agenda, the Islamic agenda. Okay? Takia. That's what Zoran did. Takia. He lied to the American people to say, oh, vote me in and you guys will have free stuff. Yay. I'm for the gays. Look at me partying with the gays. Once they take office and take power, they start throwing gay people off buildings. Go and look at countries. Look at countries where Islam is the ruling law. Look at what they do to gay people. Feminists, go take a look. You guys think America is so horrible and is you have toxic masculinity. You haven't seen toxic masculinity until you see what these Pakistani men have been doing to girls in the UK. All right, let's keep listening.
I think that's what's going to happen here if we're not awake and guard ourselves, our hearts, our minds, and our history. Remember who we are. Remember what you were taught was right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Just remember the golden rules. Just remember, you're not supposed to hate your enemy. You're supposed to love your enemy. You are supposed to stand up for truth. You have a responsibility not to participate in lies. And that means just standing by and being quiet because you're going to lose something. Your children are going to lose their freedom.
Yeah.
You don't understand how this America is a blip in human history.
Yeah.
It's an anomaly in human history. Freedom like this has never, ever happened before.
Yeah. And it is based on Christian principles. You know, I believe that the Christians in the United States have to be vocal. The next video we're going to watch is what happened in UC Berkeley recently. I think it was yesterday. Okay, and it's just a remembrance in remembrance of Charlie Kirk. I'm playing that video next because we have to talk about it. It appears that people are forgetting. They're forgetting what's going on in the world, what's going on in America, and what happened on September 10th. Okay, so we're going to play that, but here Glenn Beck is doing an amazing job telling us that we have to remember. All right, I'm going to get to the chat soon, so just keep it coming.
And if you want to live like China, great. In the end, if you don't wake up, it's going to be communist China or it's going to be Islam.
Yeah.
I would like a third choice.
Yeah.
I would like freedom. I'd like constitutional freedom.
Yeah.
Nobody's fighting for that. You know, America is the only hope. We just have to remember it.
Bill Maher said, and he's, listen, Bill Maher's a moderate and he can say all of this stuff. And for some reason, people don't attack him for it, or very rarely. He referenced a Bernie AOC rally where one of the kids threw a Palestinian flag on the stage, and he goes, this is where the adults in the room stand up and say to these kids, oh, they covered an American flag. I'm sorry, that's what they did. They covered the American flag with the Palestinian flag. And they say, this is a symbol of freedom. And he, pops up the picture of the American flag. And he's like, this is not. And it's a woman in like a full burqa.
Yeah.
All right, guys, if you like this clip and you want to watch the full episode, click here.
All right. So, Jillian Michaels had that interview. Head on over to her channel. I like to promote people where I get some of this content from. So Jillian Michaels, go over to her channel and her content. She does great stuff. Again, she's of immigrant descent. There are stories that immigrants can tell you that help you understand what is at stake. All right. So briefly, before we jump into the Charlie Kirk remembrance bit, okay, I want to dive into the chat if you don't mind. Now, those of you who are watching who haven't liked the video yet or subscribed or shared the video, please help out the channel. It helps out a whole lot. Okay. Currently, I am a full-time YouTuber. I have 3 kids. I have a family. I have a mortgage. I have all of this. I'm currently just a full-time YouTuber. Your views and your comments and your support, your membership. If you want to donate, there's a link in the chat that lets you donate to the channel to keep the lights on. If you like the way the conversation is going, I'm not rage baiting you. I'm not trying to make you angry. I'm trying my best to provide facts, and I'm trying to do it in a way that doesn't terrify you. Okay, even if someone gets in front of the camera and they're trying to do a good thing, and in order to do that good thing, they terrify you into doing that good thing, it's not a bad idea. Okay, fear is a really bad tool. So I try to make it as easygoing as possible. And even in my titles and thumbnails, I try to be easygoing so that I don't promote fear. But I want you guys to know what's going on in the world. I want you guys to understand how to counter it with knowledge and wisdom, okay, and with prayer and with love. That's what I want to do. So some days I might succeed because sometimes the topics are so painful that it comes out in my voice and my emotions, but it doesn't mean that that's the aim, okay, of the coverage, right? So please consider subscribing, liking, sharing the video. If you love the way we're doing things here, please support us in those ways. If you can donate, send a super chat. It helps out a whole lot. I really do want to do this full time, okay, going forward. So your support contributes to that a whole lot. So let me address the chat. So Tony, I said the tone says, history matters so much, especially the war veterans. I opened up the live stream with a tribute to the veterans that fell during the world wars. And I do want us to constantly keep them in our minds because they paid the ultimate price. They put their bodies in between us and the tyrants who wanted to take over the world and enslave all of us. So we have to honor them that way. Tony also says, people need to understand why veterans put up their lives. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. Many people have said that the veterans were only doing the bidding of the politicians, and the politicians essentially where they got into these wars for the wrong reasons. They wanted to take over resources. They wanted to colonize. They wanted to do different things. Well, that was what the politicians wanted to do. But the soldiers, the veterans who went out there to defend the freedoms of their children, of their wives, of their fathers and mothers. They laid down their lives for that purpose. All right. That was why they did it. They didn't do it because a politician wanted to take over the oil in a certain part of the world. No, the soldiers, the sacrifice of the soldiers, okay, is the real purpose. We remember them. The politicians will get their comeuppance. Those guys, those evil guys that just want to do things and create wars that shouldn't be fought. Okay, they eventually get judged. All right, they eventually do. But we remember these people who fought for freedoms, and not just World War I, World War II, all the wars that have been fought with a spirit of wanting to defend their families and their loved ones. We remember these people. Okay. That recent English veteran interview was so heartbreaking. Okay, Tony, can you send the link to that interview? I want to play that interview. I do. I don't have it queued up. If you can, if you're still watching, please send me the link to that interview. I want to react to it along with everyone. I want to share it with everyone. Okay, so let's watch this this incident. UC Berkeley. Now, Charlie Kirk was murdered on September 10th. And since his murder, the Turning Point USA movement has exploded. The organization has grown. The branches have grown massively. But people think that common sense and sanity would return to the campuses after what happened to Charlie Kirk, but it hasn't. Okay, so here's a report from Savannah Hernandez, and she's reporting on what happened at the event at UC Berkeley. I saw a video about an altercation between an Antifa militant and a TPU USA volunteer. All right, so there was blood and so on going on. The police arrested both of them, so I can't play it here on YouTube because YouTube will ding the video. So, but this was going on the outside, and Savannah Hernandez is reporting. So even after the gory murder of Charlie Kirk, these people are still doing this outside of the events as if nothing happened. All right, so this has to be called out. So let's play the video.
This is Savannah Hernandez at UC Berkeley at the TPUSA Out of the Bay protest. Now, it is about 7 p.m. at this point, but this has been going on since 4:30, and my friends, it has been absolute chaos. Now, at the beginning of the night, you quickly had 2 people that were arrested. One person was a Trump supporter.
Yeah, so that was the video. You can see some of the blood on the floor.
Was getting arrested, he stated that the Antifa member came and tried to steal his stuff, resulting in the altercation. Now, that happened fairly quickly at the beginning of the protest, and everything just evolved since then. Now, this is actually the entrance to the TPUSA event tonight, and the attendee line actually stretched out this way, and it kind of stretched into this area so people could get into this conference center behind me. Now, what ended up happening is this huge swarm of protesters, many of which are trans members, some of them are furries, and of course, many Antifa members and Antifa-aligned groups, they all ended up swarming those attendees. Now, one of the Antifa members actually...
So this happens routinely. Why is it tolerated by law enforcement? Why is it tolerated by the schools? If the schools were serious about being repentant for what happened to Charlie Kirk, these students should be expelled. Any student, look, talk about the First Amendment in your spare time. The ability of students to protest. Students are in schools to study, not to protest and obstruct other students from learning what they want to learn. If this was a furry convention happening on the campus and conservatives were swarming that event and blocking them, mainstream media would be all over it. It's intolerance. They would paint it as, oh, the far right is attacking people's freedom of speech. I had an argument with AI, with Grok AI several days ago, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and AI pulls from the bulk of the ideology that is being pumped out on social media. Okay? So there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of ideologies that are false, but you know what? Whenever they want to have their conventions and promote their debauchery, conservatives only say, look, guys, this is wrong. It will destroy you. Okay, you guys need to think twice about it. What leftists do whenever conservatives are having events is they attack them. They call them Nazis. They call them fascists. They celebrate the murder of Charlie Kirk. Okay, they attempt to steal and upend their tables. The fight that you saw briefly that ended with the 2 people being arrested was an Antifa militant grabbed the property, the t-shirts that this guy was selling. Okay, and then he ran after him and they started having an altercation. So is these kind of things that make me question, okay, is it that the schools aren't doing enough? All right, are the schools not doing enough? Okay.
He lit off a flare, smoke started going everywhere, and then another protester drove past in his vehicle. It started backfiring multiple times. It kind of sounded like gunshots. I could see the visible fear in many of the attendees' eyes.
So look at that. Okay, hold on. So this happened, like all of this is orchestrated. All of this is organized. Let me ask you guys in the chat, because I have a feeling, look guys, I'm from Africa. I grew up under dictatorships. So again, I will continue saying, I don't think immigrants, first or second generation immigrants, should run for public office. I don't. Because that thing inside of us that is put in us based on where our parents came from or where their parents came from is still there. My opinion, track down this guy, arrest him, put him away for a year. Okay, put him away for a year. Crimes like this this is a crime. It's a crime. It's a crime. For Western countries to become sane again, you need to start putting these people away. I'm just being honest. I'm being as honest as I can. That's how I feel about it. Okay, so let me know if you support the way I feel.
Please quickly let them pass these barriers to, essentially protect them and help with their safety, because the mob then quickly started descending on these barriers. Now, they have multiple times tried to break this area down and break these barriers down, and
that's nice.
Chanting all night, calling attendees of this event fascists, Nazis, anti-Semites. They've been calling them every single name in.
So they attack the attendees, they call them Nazis and fascists, insult them, flip them off, use profanity against them, celebrate the murder of Charlie Kirk. Okay, these people don't belong in civilized society. They don't. They don't. Every Remembrance Day, I will not just remember the veterans, I will equally include Charlie Kirk in that remembrance. I will, because we can't forget Charlie. We can't. Tony, I'm still waiting for the link. I'm waiting on you for the link, because have you sent it? If you sent it and it didn't show up in the chat, email it to me so I can get it, okay? If you're watching and you want to reach me and you want to email me, you can email me at crossroadsirl@gmail.com. All right. So Tony, just email me the link so I can play that video. I want us to spend some time remembering. Now, this will be the last segment that I will create. The Western world. Okay. So Tony just posted a comment. I'm going to read it after we finish this segment. I just want to finish the video so I don't kind of drag it out.
While simultaneously saying that Nazis need to be killed. Now,
look at that. They said Nazis need to be killed. They openly say Nazis need to be killed. These people here range between the ages of 18 and 25. These are future voters who will vote in a future senator who is a Marxist or a communist openly, and they will vote them in. We need to keep our eyes wide open on what's going on. If you don't keep your eyes wide open, you miss what's going on. History is forming right now in front of us, and it is us who have the power to change the course of history. We do. Voting right, teaching our kids the right thing, that is how we do it. That is how we do it. All right? And you know what? I keep wondering if I should send my kids to college, because I don't want them to have to deal with this madness. I don't. You say, do you deal with it in Canada? Well, I told you about the time when I was driving down the road and I saw a flag that says F Trump. There are people who don't live in the United States, live here, and they've been infected with that virus. Okay? So, I'm really thinking about that. So let's finish this up.
And I have seen several signs tonight glorifying and celebrating Charlie's death. So that is the protest in attendance tonight. Those are the people inside. You even had people chanting, F your homie.
Yeah, look at that.
Your homie is dead, referring to Charlie Kirk. So that's an idea of how chaotic it has been out here at UC Davis. The next challenge is going to be how attendees now leave this event, as this entrance is completely blocked with very aggressive protesters.
Crazy. Now, we're going to look inside of the event because Grok was trying to convince me that right now, I told you earlier that I had an argument with Grok. Grok was trying to persuade me that right-wing violence had superseded left-wing violence. And I was like, what are you smoking? I had an argument with Grok. So here are the attendees. On the outside, these are the people who braved the insults, being called fascists and Nazis, the people who braved and held back from attacking these crazy people for celebrating Charlie's assassination. All right, so here they are inside of the event. These are the guys who Grok tried to convince me are perpetrating violence more than the left does. Okay, those guys on the outside holding signs celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. Those guys outside calling the attendees to the event Nazis and fascists are the peaceful ones. Really? Yeah, look at the violence. Oh, the violence. All right, these are the guys who braved all of that, and they need to be respected and honored, because honestly, would you be able to hold back if you went through that insane crowd? All right, so now we're going to be jumping into the chat. All right, guys, we're going into the chat. Everything else that I didn't cover, I'm going to be covering that. I'll be recording additional videos. They'll be published members first. The members will get the videos first, as always. So if you're watching and you're not a member, use the link in the video description to join the membership. You get a lot of perks, and then there are things that I'm planning. I'm trying to kind of get the channel stabilized. Okay, I'm trying to get the channel stabilized. So I started this channel years ago to teach people how to use technology, but eventually, when the US elections took off last year, I began to cover politics and news, and it took off and got monetized. And then by February, I was registering over 100,000 views a day. It was like crazy. And then my mom died. She died on the 1st of March, and I couldn't create content. You know, I didn't know what was going on, but I guess I was just in grief for almost 2 months, and then the channel kind of tanked. So right now I'm trying to get the channel back off the ground. Being an immigrant, I need a work permit to work, and I'm trying to extend or renew my work permit, and that hasn't happened yet, so I can't work. So that's why I am currently doing this full time. Now, I would love to do this full time, like be a YouTuber full time. It will give me the permission to do this, do more research, present the facts with you with deeper research, hire a team, a research team, so that we can find the facts. Right now, I do all the research, I do the editing, I handle my live stream, I produce everything myself. So consider donating or joining the membership. But please, if you can't do that financial commitment, at least subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, leave a comment. I need you to jump into the chat. That is as good as money to me. Okay, that is as good as money to me. So if you can leave a comment in the chat, I would love to hear your thoughts on the stories that you followed so far. So I'm still waiting for the email. Okay, the email has been sent. Okay, I'm going to copy the link to this. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tony. I have the email. So we're going to watch this story. We're going to watch this story. Now, Tony is a member of the channel. So we're very glad that he's on our side, because he's helped us to get an amazing story. So we're going to watch this video since we're in the mode of remembrance. And I want us to please just... All right, so we're going to watch this interview by a veteran. It's important, okay, because I had a long conversation with a friend, a brother of mine. He's Canadian, and since the day we met, we've kind of been like brothers. And we were talking about Remembrance Day. Right, thanks. I have it queued. We were talking about Remembrance Day and why it's important for us to remember. And I told him that I feel like we're losing the ability to remember the veterans because most of the veterans who actually died in World War II and World War I are mostly gone. They're dead. In the past, you could go to a veterans meetup and meet these people and they'll tell you stories of courage and valor. But these days, we're being fed a lot of junk about, PTSD. So the veterans are no longer heroes. They're being sold to us as victims. And you can't gain any courage from a victim. A victim tells you how down on their luck they are, and that you can't harvest any courage from that engagement. And that is one of the reasons why I feel mainstream media has betrayed civilization. That's my thought. So we had that conversation. So let's listen to an actual veteran. I believe that veterans are the real heroes. These are superheroes. Okay, so let's listen to this interview.
This next clip I'm about to show you, it's going to tell you literally everything you need to know about how far the UK has fallen recently. Alec Penstone, he's a 100-year-old World War II veteran from England. And he went on Good Morning Britain and said something that everyone, including Americans, really need to hear.
What does Remembrance Sunday mean for you? What is your message?
My message is, I can see in my mind's eye there was rows and rows of white stones of all the hundreds of my friends and everybody else that gave their lives for what? The country of today. No, I'm sorry. The sacrifice wasn't worth the result that it is now. And what we fought for was our freedom. We find that even now it's darn sight worse than what it was when I fought for it.
And that's not bitterness talking. You can hear it in his voice. That is true heartbreak. And this is a man who watched his friends die for a nation to promise to uphold freedoms. And now he's wondering if that freedom even exists anymore. It's really sad to watch. And he's not wrong to ask. I mean, in the UK today, we've reported on this here at CBN many times. The freedoms that he and his comrades had bled for, they're starting to disappear. I mean, we've seen Christians being arrested simply for praying silently outside abortion clinics. These are thought crimes happening. And it's not only just a thought crime, it's about prayer. We've seen street preachers again and again, men peacefully sharing the gospel. They're handcuffed in public squares and hauled off and taken away. We've seen it again and again. And it's not just speech in the streets. It's speech online. Police have literally shown up at people's homes over things that they tweeted. Yeah. One British man was arrested in the middle of the night at his home. They bust into his home and took him away because he posted an anti-Hamas meme. And this is a terror organization, and you're getting arrested for posting anti-Hamas memes. It's crazy. A comedian who is the writer behind Father Ted, he was detained for social media comments about gender ideology. This is not the country that Alec Penstone fought and bled for.
This is heartbreaking, guys. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think about this report? We're going to finish the video in a bit. But what do you think? My friend and I talked about remembrance, and I asked him a question because he was speaking. He's a believer in Jesus like me. And while he was speaking, I said to him, I asked him a question. I said, what happens when you don't remember? Or what happens when you forget? And the answer was, you lose that thing you forget. You lose something. My wife spent time for about a week looking for her copy of the key to our car, to our minivan. For 1 week, she couldn't remember where it was, and to her and to everyone else in the family, that set of keys was lost. That's what happens when we forget why. These brave superheroes, I call the veterans superheroes. If you haven't watched Hacksaw Ridge, all right, there are two movies I want to recommend to you today. Watch Hacksaw Ridge and Saving Private Ryan. I actually plan on playing Saving Private Ryan to my my oldest today. The younger ones won't be able to take it. It's gory at the beginning. So I'll play Saving Private Ryan for my young boy. He just joined the Army Cadets here in the US. Oh, sorry, in Canada. Sorry, I said US. In Canada. And he needs to see what courage looks like. Okay, because they see a lot of superhero movies. They see a lot of these things that aren't real. They're fantasy. But he needs to see actual people who fought in a war that actually took place and how they took on courage. Maybe later I'll play Hacksaw Ridge for him, or maybe I'll flip it and just play Hacksaw Ridge for the kids. Okay, so let's finish up the video and then you can put in your comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on this report here.
And saw his brothers fight and die for. They supposedly are supposed to be upholding freedom of thought, speech, and faith. We're seeing it slip away. And at the same time that's happening, the fabric of British life's being torn apart at the seams by things like unchecked immigration and cultural fragmentation. Former Minister Michael Gove recently said it outright. Mass migration has changed Britain so rapidly that the shared culture can't keep up. You see it in neighborhoods that no longer feel British, entire towns where assimilation is broken down, and authorities are too afraid to enforce their own laws for fear of being offensive. From riots sparked by...
Do you know the insanity of this is when you go to other countries, Middle Eastern countries, they are not afraid to be offensive. They will offend you. It's their country. Get out. Why has the West lost its mind? Honestly, has it lost its mind? If the Second World War were to pop off in this time and season, the West would have lost. It's been replaced by a bunch of sissies, a bunch of politically correct nincompoops that would sell their country just to look good, like we saw the Democrats doing over the last 40 days.
By ethnic tensions to hotels and small villages being overwhelmed by waves of asylum seekers, it's no wonder that half of Britons now say their culture is changing too fast and national pride has plunged to record lows. So when Alec Penstone says it wasn't worth it, it really breaks your heart because he's looking at the country he risked his life for and seeing leaders who've squandered that legacy of freedom he and his fallen brothers in arms paid for in blood. But here's another important truth. His service and his friends and his brothers in arms, their sacrifice was worth it because freedom, while it might be hanging on by a thread in some areas, it isn't completely dead yet. Still lives in every believer who prays in public, who still preach the gospel out on the streets, and who still speak truth no matter the cost. Mr. Penstone, your generation built the foundation, and despite the obvious setbacks and challenges we're dealing with right now, there are still millions of Britons and Americans over here who will continue the fight for freedom with courage and conviction and faith. So once again, sir, thank you for your service and God bless.
Yeah, thank you for your service. Type now if you don't have anything to say. Okay, just type "thank you for your service" in the chat. That's all I want you to chat. To chat. It's our own way of remembering these heroes, guys. I'm tearing up a little here, but you know, I can do what I do today online because of their sacrifices. I can. I mean, you're not British, you're not American, I know, but because they were able to win, they laid their lives down and they won. It paved the way for the innovation that created the internet, that created software, that created Look, if Germany had won, they would have eradicated the Negro race. In fact, the Negro race would have been slaves, as far as they were concerned. Okay, I probably wouldn't be born. If they had the nuclear bomb before the Manhattan Project produced it, they would have simply nuked every population that was not Caucasian or Aryan. Look, we don't realize how good we have it. And sometimes because people are so bloated on victimhood, they don't know, they don't recognize the sacrifices that have been made, that has created the benefits that we enjoy today. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the chat and we're going to wrap up in the chat. So please, if you can, please just type thank you for your service in the chat, just as a tribute to the heroes that have sacrificed and been a blessing to all of us. Okay, so let's see. I want to read the chat. I left off somewhere. I'm trying to catch up. Okay, so yeah. Tony says, the Western world and other countries going through this crap need more Trumps and Charlie Kirks. I agree. Now, if you're watching and you feel the way most of us feel who are conservative, please consider creating your own podcast or YouTube channel. I'm asking you to. All right. I'm not creating this thing to kind of just be a star and have all of you watch me. I want you guys to create your own content. I had a call in with I Set the Tone a couple of weekends back, and it was amazing. I think, Tony, you should have your own podcast on your own channel. If you need help, I'm here to help you. I will help you. All right. Tony was painting while we were talking, and one of the amazing things that I feel is that, Tony, you could literally have a podcast where while you talk, while you paint, you talk about the things that are on your mind from the news cycle or from what you've seen on the internet. I mean, it's just an idea that flashed on me. I told you that I wanted to mention something about your painting. I was hoping that we could do a call-in, but I'll just say it here. I want every one of you who's watching, who's connecting to this content, and who have subscribed, liked, and shared the video to please consider creating your own YouTube channels. It may not be a wildly successful channel, but we need to saturate the internet with common sense. All right, common sense, because AI is simply regurgitating information that it scrapes from the internet. If we don't put out content that is common sense, eventually AI is going to start putting out slop, and it's going to generally destroy the world. People say AI is going to destroy the world, and maybe they think it's going to be AI taking over the nuclear codes. No, it's about AI destroying humanity, humanity's ability to think, humanity's ability to have its own thoughts. All right. Tony says it's so bad it needs to stop. Yeah, the crazy attacks on the West needs to stop. The mass migration needs to stop. All right. So that's the last chat in the feed. All right. If you have anything else to say, please hurry up, because we're about to wrap this up. We've been live streaming for over 2 hours, and I had a bunch of other stories that I wanted to cover, but 2 hours is more than enough. I want to go downstairs and hang out with my family. I want to play either Saving Private Ryan for my oldest or play Hacksaw Ridge for the whole family. All right, because it's important that we remember the sacrifice that has been made over time to bring us to this point. All right, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you can't make it into the chat, I'm looking at the chat. I'm hungry for engagement, but it seems like you guys are just, maybe some of you are watching from your TV screens. It's fine. So we're going to be back again live tomorrow. All right. Tony says, love your stuff, man. Let's communicate in the mail. Yeah, please, Tony, let's communicate. Let's connect. If you're watching and you want to connect with me, you can do so by sending an email to crossroadsirl, all one word, crossroadsirl@gmail.com. We have a domain which we're working on. I'm working on setting up a website So eventually we will switch over to the official domain. But for now, it's crossroadsirl@gmail.com. Tony, thank you for this video. I honestly wish I had opened up with it. A lot of people joined the live stream because they saw the thumbnail of Chuck Schumer looking miserable. As much as in my emotions, I want to farm the misery of Democrats, I don't want it to be the stock in trade of the channel. I want us to build civilization or rebuild civilization by reminding the world of what common sense looks like, of what honoring the Constitution, honoring your father, your mother, your friends, keeping your word. When politicians lie and then they pretend they never said what they said, it upsets me because I want to be a man that keeps my word. If the people in office continue to promote dishonesty, it shows our children that it's okay to be dishonest. It's okay not to keep your word. What kind of world would we live in if we have people who don't keep their word? So it really bothers me, and I would love for my content to be richer, to be more educational, to be stronger, to have a lot of depth, as well as a lot of entertainment. It's hard to do all of it at once, but being able to talk with you and create this content every day is helpful, and it takes us closer to that destination. Please consider again subscribing to the channel if you haven't. Like the video, share the video, and we need shekels, money, to keep the channel going. So please consider sending a donation using the link in the description of the video or in the chat. And if you want to connect with me closer, like Tony here, I said the tone does, please consider being a member of the channel. It encourages me to keep doing what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm doing this full time now, so I want to be able to continue doing this as something that is an offering to you, to help you and to entertain you and to be a part of your life and you a part of mine. So please consider doing that. It's still a small channel, it's still a tiny channel, but I want it to do as much as it can to be a blessing to you. All right, gotta go play Saving Private Ryan for my oldest and hang out with him and ask him what courage means to him. Now, looking forward to your emails, looking forward to your comments. Until next time, until tomorrow, where we live stream every day, okay, at 12 noon Eastern. So subscribe, hit the bell icon so you're notified whenever we go live. And I'll see you tomorrow on the next one. Until next time, bye.